world of 1916 was complex. Well, the world of 1945 was complex. The world of 2016 is intensely complex. You'll be dealing with terrorists. You'll be dealing with hybrid armies. You'll be dealing with little green men. You're going to be dealing with tribes. You'll be dealing with national leaders and local leaders. You'll be dealing with politics and economics. And you'll be dealing with direct fire and indirect fire. And you're going to be dealing with it all. And it's all going to be dealt with simultaneously.
Well, I tell you, it's a sad day for Americans that the wool has been pulled over their eyes again. Those things that are lies and deception are being hurled at us at an incredible speed. And I need to just let everyone know that the information that we have tonight is going to be covering everything from A to Z, from past to present to future. Now, when it comes to the occult, when it comes to the way they think, the demonology, the possession, the control, the sheer evil of their very act, that we as normal people, so-called normal, I guess that's up for debate, the point of it is none of us can really comprehend evil the way they think. And so we don't look for things that are potentially dangerous to us all the time, because we would never think that anybody would ever do such a thing. But in reality, there are people who scheme and dream and just plot their whole life for 10s, 20s, 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, 300, all the way up. And it's amazing, because in these last days, everything is finally coming to a head. Everything's finally coming to a point. And so the acceleration of their plot, of their plan, is becoming evident. Well, it has been actually for some time, but it is actually to another level. Now I'm getting calls all the time and emails from people who are just absolutely sick in their stomach, churning in their soul, because they know something's wrong. They know another level, another breach has taken place, and yes, it has. The amount of demonization, the types of deliverances, the severities that I'm dealing with are more than ever. And those that have once been freed were pulled back through iniquity back into it again and then reinfected. See, people, you need to understand the fight is on. This is, just like any game. When the clock's running out, everyone gives it their all, no matter how tired they are. Well, that's what the demons are doing. You remember, they don't sleep, they don't eat, they don't have to rest. They simply do what they do. And us as humans, we wear out. Now, we know Scripture tells us that Satan will be working on wearing out the saints in the last day. And as we've been showing, that the technology referred to as psychotronics, of microwave, of ELF, those of drones, those of satellites, those of cell towers, are being used to bombard Americans, along with Wi-Fi and smart meters and even your cell phone, to get us to believe that we're demonized, that we have illnesses, sicknesses, mental disorders, when in reality these things are applied to us through electronic means. Now, the devil's always in the detail. We've talked about that. I've taught about that. And certainly you can go to the archives and listen to those shows. But here we are with more information, with more false flags, with things that are being thrown at us in order for the so-called government, which is the corporate America, under the auspices of those of royalty, that call themselves royalty, the black nobility, those are the Illuminati, the New World Order, the occult that is running our government, that aren't even human, And so another false flag, another event, another shooting, another Orlando, another Boston bombing, another 9/11. And we knew that this would keep coming, and so here we are. And Julie's been working very vigorously to decipher all of this, and a lot has already been uncovered. But somebody that I was talking to today mentioned about the Orlando shooting, that to date, not one funeral has taken place. Okay? Not one funeral, not one recognition of the dead, not a viewing, not a celebrating of life, as they call it now. Okay? So, again, another piece to the puzzle to prove that the whole thing was a scam. And so, as I turn it over to Julie here in a little bit, you'll see that. Now, I want to thank everyone for supporting this ministry, especially, we're doing 2 shows. This is the Tinfoil Hat Club. This one is focused more towards any and everybody. And then we have, my old show that is on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and still getting into a lot of biblical on that. In fact, I last night really laid it out thick as to why you need to get yourself ready. You need to get yourself prepared. Stop messing around. I'm telling you, things are, the spirit realm is like dogs coming over the fence. Not good. Have you ever seen a German Shepherd jump a fence? You ever seen an elk jump a fence effortlessly? Well, you know what? The level of the fence has been lowered. So even the big fat demons are going to make it over. That's not good. Let me tell you, this is no time to be messing around. Now, I am behind in my emails and calls. I've been doing deliverances. I've been doing scans on people. Now, the people that I've done the scans on, I did not expect to find anything, and that became the case. We did find replaced knees. We did find items in pockets, you name it, but nothing of the chip matter. Now, I'm not just doing metal detecting. I'm also doing signal recognition, looking for RF transmitted signals out of the human body, which should not be. Anywhere from the groin area to the brain to the TMJ to the chest and back area, and zero. And that's good. That's a good thing. And again, I wasn't expecting that. And I've got more coming this weekend and more coming next week to do scans. So that's a good thing. That works out. And what a relief, too, right? It's kind of like going to the doctor and getting a clean bill of health, So anyways, again, that's all possible because you've been supporting. And thank you. Just thank you. Now, on scotthensler.org, I try and keep up a lot of postings that, again, have to do with today's events as well as biblical. Now, when it comes to tinfoilhatclub.com, I'm going to be focusing more on the evidence of those things that are happening to individuals, whether it's through electronic means, whether it's Jade Helm, whether it's FEMA, Department of Homeland Security, whatever the situation is, that's where I'll be focusing at. And I bring that up because I built a new page last night. And what I posted it's called the Goat Head Wall of Shame. Now, you need to remember that those of royalty, that call themselves royalty, those of Hollywood stars, the ones that call themselves stars, the ones that are in office, the ones that run corporations, the ones that seem to be in the public eye, are always doing the goat head, the 666, the pyramid, doing all the Illuminati signs. Now, that also includes the so-called pastors, the so-called evangelists, those from TBN, those on the TV, on the boob tube, so to speak. And so a lot of people have painstakingly taken the videos or any pictures that they've gotten and, brought that fact out of them doing these signs. Now you say, well, couldn't they just be, at that moment in time? Okay, but, after the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 10th, 12th, something's wrong here. Now, when you go to the Goathead Wall of Shame on tinfoilhatclub.com, right now I don't know how many I have on there, but I got a lot. I got a big head start. It's a long wall. And you're going to see people that are going to shock you and surprise you, that people you looked up to, everyone from whether they were in Hollywood, whether they were in politics, whether they were behind the pulpit. You need to understand that anybody that really has the limelight, that really is catapulted into, up where people see them more than the others, they're put there intentionally. And so they let the other people who are in the occult, that are Freemasons and the Illuminati, letting them know who they are through these signs. Now, these are also a spiritual attempt to inflict onto you as a listener. Just like any spoken word, any time that you take information from someone that is telling you that they are evil, you are in agreement with them. Period. You need to understand that. So please, go to that wall, see who they are. I'm going to be posting more. If you come across some, send them to me, and then this way others can, be aware. So there you are. Now, this alter and change in the spirit realm is not for the good. They have gotten to a point that they know that there is no return. Now, could there be a return? Of course there could be. Is there most likely going to be? No. The church in itself is an occult. Those that come out of seminary, those that call themselves pastors, all of this is not biblical. All of it is out of order. Everything they've been teaching comes from the Zionist agenda. And that is to cause you to not be the men and women of God that God has called you to be. You're standing down. You're full of demons. You're full of curses. You're full of sicknesses and all kinds of poverty, divorce, addictions, and basically you're worthless. And I'm sorry, but that's the case. Now, a lot of you who listen to me, who have been going through deliverance, who've been breaking the curses and getting the demons out and getting into prayer and understanding to stay away from these people, that's different. You've got an edge now, okay? Your head's finally up out of that fog. You see light at the end of the tunnel, and now you're back in the race, okay? And that's exactly what this whole thing is about, is to educate you onto that. Now, with this particular show, we're also reaching out to those who are in the occult, those who are coming out of it, whether they were Mason, whether they were practicing witch, whether they're just an atheist, or whatever the circumstance is. The information that we give is to allow you to understand and to make a decision what's really going on. Because without the influences of the media, without the influences of the occult church, without the influences of those things that basically keep you in the dark, by seeing the truth, you're capable of making your own decision. You've all been given a gift. You all have intelligence. You've just been lied to. And so we're trying to bring truth to you, and the information we've got is pretty strong. You wanted to mention that, the stock market's up, okay? But we also know that Europe is in very bad shape. We also know that there are some banks as old as Columbus that are ready to fold. We also know that there is an infestation of those being brought into countries that are devastating it, and that's happening here too. Make no mistake about it, the amount of demonic influence that's been brought into this country with their idols, with their demonization, demon possession, with their curses, with their intent to alter and change us as we were, the United States of America, the people, that they are trying to change this into something other than what was originally intended. And because of Barack Obama, who's not even human, who is a plant, who is nothing more than one of the chess pieces, has been very successful because the so-called Congress that's supposed to be part of the checks and balances has not done a darn thing that they swore to do. See, they're all traitors. They all need to be brought to justice. They don't need to be just thrown out of office. There needs to be an accountability. And they have handed our rear ends over to the devil on a platter. And that means that yourself, your spouse, the people you love, and your children, grandchildren are going to suffer because those who called themselves Christians, who believed the lie in the churches that you cannot have demons, that it was all done on the cross, there's no reason to fight, spiritual warfare isn't necessary, blah, 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 and now here we are. We've got the wolf at the door. We can't close the door and we can't lock it. That's the problem. And so this is coming upon us. Now, Julie's going to be going over the shooting in Dallas, okay, which is paralleling those things that took place in Orlando, those things that took place in Boston, and we're going to be showing some things about Phoenix, which is a hodgepodge of the occult, just like it is here in Coeur d'Alene. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho is the capstone of the pyramid. I finally figured that out today. My head was that thick. I had to see it on a bumper sticker, and it became obvious because the amount of demonic influence here, Spokane Valley, just to the west of me, is in the top 10 rating of the occult, those who practice, those who witches, and believe me, I've been dealing with it. I've been handed over to them by the very people who claim to be Christians, and I'm not happy about it. Now, let me tell you that those who have done such things, they themselves have got themselves in a pickle because they have come into agreement with evil. And that's not good, because once you make a decision and go to a certain point with them, there is no return. Because, see, what they've been doing is infiltrating. What they've been doing is praying and planting and cursing and doing those things of hexes and spells. Now, as crazy as that sounds, and it sounds like some kind of Hollywood movie, guess what? That's what Julie and I deal with. You need to remember, about a year ago, I had somebody call on this phone, and they were sacrificing some animal as they were slitting its throat, and it was gurgling. I could hear some witch in the background doing some kind of ritual prayer, and we had to go into lockdown. And if you go back to some of the shows, the older show, I think it says this means war in the show, and then I just started in and went after them because I'm not going to tolerate such things. I'm also dealing with microwave technologies. I'm dealing with things here locally that are damaging. Again, this area between the witches and the Masons and those that are claiming to be reptilians, and I saw a van the other day, as I mentioned, that was marked Monarch, and as I took a picture of the logo on the side, which turned out, as Julie dissected it, the 666 was there and everything else. So now they're transporting in or out those who are monarched, those who are under MK Ultra mind control or basically satanic ritual abuse. So this area is being staged. It's getting ready. So hold on, because I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here. This is also considered a vortex. Now, Coeur d'Alene. So you need to understand that some of the people that you have looked up to, some of the people you have listened to and got your teachings lived here. Now, they've already bailed, or they've already gone into hiding. It seems like I'm the only one left. I guess everyone took a step back and left me out there. But I want to tell you that as long as I can continue to do this, I'm going to continue. Now, as I get into this, I want to set the stage for Julie here. Now, I don't talk about too much. I have mentioned it before, that when I was in Maricopa County, when I was in Phoenix, Arizona, back in the 80s, I joined the Maricopa County Sheriff's Office and came in primarily as a man tracker, and eventually went into the search and rescue aspect of it, and then eventually went into the law enforcement aspect of it. And then that also, because of my tracking and ability to find things that were hidden as clues and signs, that's how you track somebody like you're tracking an animal, that would also encompass me into homicide evidence retrieval, okay, and was trained on that and did a lot of it. And I wouldn't change those days for nothing. Those were great days for me because we did save lives and we did find bad people. And that's what true law enforcement's all about. That's what true peacekeeping is all about, is to put the bad guys away. Now, unfortunately, some of you may not remember, but in 1991, boy, that was a long time ago, August, there was a mass killing just outside of Phoenix, but it was still in Maricopa County, so it still encompassed Sheriff Agnos at the time. I originally came in, Sheriff Godby here. He lost the elections to Agnos, and Agnos lost the elections to Sheriff Joe Arpaio. You might know who Sheriff Joe is. And so I was under Sheriff Joe for a little bit. Now, this particular homicide was a mass murder. Now, it included 7 Buddhist monks, okay, 1 caretaker, and the caretaker's grandson. Now, there's a lot of writings out there, but this is what I remember because I was, updated and did some crime scene searching in large areas, looking for weapons, looking for clothes, looking for things that had to do with it. And so I'm very close to it because I was pretty upset about the way the thing was handled back then. And there was a gang out of Tucson that was set free, and they were set free because supposedly they didn't have enough evidence on them. Now, eventually they pinned it on some guy, Dowdy or Duty, I forget what his name was, Garcia, and another man, Garcia. But anyways, the point of it is that when we were looking for particular items that had to do with the clothing they were wearing during the killing, because they killed so many of them, the blood was everywhere, that blood splattered on their clothes, that my primary job was to find the clothes. Now, that led me to being off of I-10, halfway between Phoenix and Tucson, because this group of guys was from Tucson. And I was in a wash, and guess what? I found clothes, I found belt, I found shirt, I found pants that had all the indications of blood that sits in the sun. Brown, hard-baked, because that's what blood will do. It'll turn brown, especially when you're out in the Arizona sun for any period of time. Now, assigned to me was an agent from, I don't know what agency, don't remember. And I was told to stand down. I was told not to deal with these clothes, that they had nothing to do with what we were looking for. Now, excuse me, even if it isn't, the fact of having an item that even gives the appearance of potentially being part of the crime scene needs to be photographed, tagged, and bagged, and let the crime scene or the others that are more capable of using those things in the science lab to determine whether that is blood, whether it belongs to the blood of the people. DNA wasn't quite figured out, but the point of it is that the men who were down in Tucson were let go because those clothes were not found. Now, I've mentioned this before. Now, what's interesting is this also took place at Picacho Peak, where I found the clothes, okay, right behind the Dairy Queen. Now, it's a big deal for me to bring this out because so much has been brought out that the clothes were never found, but you know what? Those were it. I'm sorry, or at least give the appearance of it. And again, the fact that it was not even a thought to do the right thing, which I'm sure that that when I left, that was eliminated. Because all those guys were set free, and again, it was pinned on somebody else. So what has that got to do with anything? Well, that was my first experience to corruption. That was my first experience that things are not as they appear to be. And I was in my 30s then. I wasn't very old. And that was a life-changing experience to me, and I wasn't with them very much longer. Agnos actually lost the election over that. They tried to say that he wasn't doing a good job when actually he was doing exactly what he was supposed to do. Agnos, if you hear me, I'm sorry. You did do a good job. It was this was an attempt to hide something, and I think Julie can bring some of this out as to what was going on. But either case, there were people who were murdered, and it was a terrible situation. Phoenix was injured very badly over this. The particular Thai people at their temple, they were devastated, and it was a horrible murder. A young boy, his grandmother, and 7 Buddhist monks. One of them, I guess, was in training, so they only considered it 6. So, but in total, the number's 9, and that was August 10th, I believe. Yeah, August 10th, 1991. Now, the bodies were also laid in a circle. So that may tell you a little bit about what's going on there. Now let me get into another thing here. Now, in Arizona, the first governor, Governor Hunt, who was a Mason, was buried on a hill just right there at the Papago Buttes, right next to the Phoenix Zoo, and he was buried in a pyramid, him and his wife, and then eventually some other family members. The pyramid's about 20 feet tall, overlooks the Salt River. Now, the river used to flow with water, but it's been dammed up because they use canal systems to bring water into Phoenix. But it overlooks Tempe Butte, or the town of Tempe. In fact, I think Papago may actually be on that border. It may be Phoenix, but it's actually right there at Tempe. And it overlooks Arizona State University, but it also overlooks the Hohokam or Holcomb Indian ruins and their canal system, because that's where they got the idea, by the way, was from the Indians to build canals. And when we understand about Arizona State University, we also need to remember that they're the ones involved with Mount Graham, with the Lucifer telescope, and the Vatican. Okay? Now, I want you to understand that Phoenix, the Phoenix bird rising, again, is part of the Masons, which they have a double-headed bird, which also has to do with order out of chaos and all the other things. But here's another strange thing. Back when, I think it was 1967 through 71, there was an auction took place in London for the London Bridge. And it was bought, disassembled, and reassembled along the Colorado River in an area called Lake Havasu. Now, what's significant about that? Well, Julie's going to be talking about some things that have to do with London has fallen to the great, the London Bridge. And so in reality, the bridge they were talking about would be the one in Lake Havasu, not the one that's there now. So I want you to hold on to that because that's significant, because where is this? Well, this is above Hoover Dam. Hoover Dam, that we have concerns that they are going to take that out. And, Lake Mead and some of the others that are all along the Colorado, the massive amount of water, which are low right now, but that could all change, that when one breaks, another one could break. Now, getting back to Phoenix real quick, the Saguaro Lake, Apache Lake, Canyon Lake, those things up towards Roosevelt Lake. Roosevelt's at the top, part of this system, water system. Tonto Creek goes into there. I used to, I was involved with Gila County Sheriff too to help them out, so I know all about that area. And if they did a study that if Roosevelt were to break, now they raised the dam, by the way, from its original construction. Roosevelt actually traveled up there when he was in office, President Roosevelt, and dedicated that. So Fish Creek, or the old Apache Trail that runs up there, has never been touched because it's considered an historic trail because of his journey that he took by wagon up there to dedicate that. So that was the original dam built to then channel the water correctly and put reservoirs for the Phoenix area because they knew there was growth. It was part of the, I don't know if Salt River Project. Yeah, Salt River Project. And so they raised the elevation of that dam, so now the acre feet is tremendous. Now, so they did a study that if that dam were to break, it would go into Apache. It would then go into Canyon. It would then go into Roosevelt or into Saguaro. And then it would literally take a wall of water 15 feet high, 9 miles wide, that would come down through Phoenix. Did you hear what I just said? Now, there was a time that I was actually asked, Julie, can you pray for me? I'm being attacked. All right? Boy. So there was a time, so I'm exposing all this, people, and if there's anyone out there who cares, pray for me too. There was a time that I was even asked to go up to do some watch up there because there was a terrorist watch on that dam. Okay? So you need to understand how important that is. Now, that Salt River runs into the Gila River, runs into the Agua Fria River, runs into the Hacienda, and into the Colorado eventually. Now, why is that all important? Because all the gentlemen, all the men that met for the Temple homicides, and I know this because I was part of the the beginning of that case of the Temple homicides. They all met on those rivers, plotted what they were going to do, and then went and did what they did. Okay? And now, remember, all that was all covered up. Those guys were set free, and they pinned it on 2 other people. And again, the whole area in itself has been a demonic stronghold, has been a spiritual porthole, has been, you name it, it goes on there. So I want you to understand that what we have for information leads one into another, into another, into another. And as Julie and I were talking today, it was just unbelievable, because Julie didn't know that the London Bridge was in Arizona, the Lake Havasu, there off the Colorado River, and just north of Hoover. So this is pretty significant, because we also need to understand that there are tremors showing up in Arizona and along the Colorado River and along that particular area. Now, like anywhere, you get tremors, you'll get something, but things are unusual, and we know scripturally that is going to increase. All right, Julie, I've gone through my notes. I set the stage. I'm going to bring this on. You go where you want to go, so go ahead.
Okay. I hope that helped, because I got today, when you and I were talking about this, what you guys may not know, and I hope we do have a new listener tonight, and whoever, by the way, whoever you are out there in Illinois that gave this other person my phone number in Indiana, I just want to say thank you, and it was a pleasure to speak to this lady. She was very kind, very nice, very informative, and by the way, to those of you who are targeted individuals, she is being targeted as well. So I hope someday to have her tell her story, and maybe you guys to come back on and to all talk, together on the show, because I believe that we need to get this message out to everybody, and it seems like more and more, Scott, more and more people are finding their way to us who are targeted. So whoever's putting our name out there, I just thank you, because whatever we can do, it doesn't seem like there's anybody trying to do anything for these people. So, and I happen to be extremely fond of every one of them that I know, and I've got my brother Dave up there. He's like Grandpa Dave to my kids, and I really love him, and I just feel bad for you guys that this is being done. But what I wanted to say was, when we were talking about this today, it was an accident, a coincidence, how this conversation came to pass. I had a whole other focus for my day, and I was going somewhere else completely, and I just so happened to be doing some numbers last night. Now, when I do this, I cannot, I just can't. Please don't ask me. Some of you will email me or text me and say, well, can you explain how you got to all that? No, I can't. Literally, this would take a year of complete schooling for me to sit you down every day, 6 hours a day in a class to teach you what I know. I don't have time to tell you how all this works. It seems very complicated when I explain it, but to me it's just second nature. It's just what I do. So I'm sorry, I just don't have time to go in depth. This is just something that occultists learn how to do. First of all, everybody needs to understand, in the occult, there's it's a language. It's a very specific language, including numbers, letters, and symbols. Now, all of you out there have no idea what that is. You're not supposed to know, okay? You're supposed to be in the dark and be dumb sheeple and know nothing. That's what they want. But there are some people that come off the dark side and come to this side and bring that information to you, and that's what I'm doing. Okay? So here's how it works. When you read an article, you're going to see 6 officers in Dallas, Texas have been shot, and they're killed and whatever. That's what you're going to see. When I see that, I see something totally different. Okay, I'm reading the entire footage, and I'm watching little things that are popping up on the screen. See, you guys think it's just an accident that there's something in the corner of the screen in CNN. Well, CNN, you need to understand, is 33. Do you understand? Order out of chaos, highest order of the Masonic, 33, 33rd degree. That's what it is, okay? You need to understand, I'm watching all these numbers. At the very moment this story breaks onto this footage, there's going to be a time up there in the corner. Those numbers are so absolutely significant to what's happening. See, everything that they do is all planned down to the very minutest detail. Listen, to be in the occult's a lot of work because you have to know languages that other people don't understand. You have to know all this numbers nobody gets, the symbols. It's a lot of work to plan these events out because every number, every tittle, every jot has to be covered. Well, here's the problem. Because people and angels and fallen angels and all of them are not perfect, they always end up screwing something up. But I come in and I look at everything, and when you guys read a story, you see one thing. When I read it, I see something entirely different. Okay? I come away and go, how does she know that? That's because that's what I come from the occult to this side. Now, we have that clear. Everything I'm going to tell you is straight out of the book, the playbook of the other side. Here's the thing. We're talking about this today. I was doing some numbers last night on some articles that come out in the Daily Mail. All I got to do is look at a bunch of stuff on there, look at pictures and fingers and just all kinds of signs, and I go in and I go, oh, olive green boots. They're pointing to an olive green book. Look at the finger pointing down. So I go into olive green boot, and it always takes me to the numbers. Then I take those numbers and look back up to the top and find, isn't that funny how the numbers match the date and they match the time? Oh, how these numbers match the amount of people who viewed this. You see, even the amount of people who viewed the article is there on purpose when it goes up. You have to understand, everything is carefully managed. And then you have to know numbers. Like I'll multiply by 37, which is wisdom, or multiply by. So you have to understand how this works so that you can read it that way. Because you don't, I'm going to tell you what it says. First of all, we already went over the Orlando hoax. That whole thing was a big, fat joke, okay? And if you listen to, I think it was June the 16th or 17th, it was on that Friday, you will listen to that show in 2 hours. You'll say, if you were a judge or a juror, they would be convicted of fraud because I laid it all out. And even on Saturday night, I brought more information in the following Monday as well. Scott and I were talking about this today, and I just so happened to see some of these numbers. And then I was doing the Queen's annual address at Christmas, taking every word spoken from her mouth, and I was doing the work on it. Now, mind you, this takes hours to do, okay? So I'm doing the work on everything she's saying, and there was a reference to the London Bridge is falling down, the song that children sing. Well, that's not just a children's song. That song was put into place because that's exactly what they're planning, is London Bridge is falling down. You have to understand, they did that on purpose, and they were giving you a message, and you and your friends thought it was just a song, and you sang it. And you all fell down. Remember that? So this is what they've done. Now, Scott called me, and he's talking, and I just so happened to bring up this, what I found with this London Bridge is falling down. He goes off on a whole other thing telling me that the London Bridge, the original one's in Havasu, Arizona. I didn't know that. So I can tell you right now, when he said Havasu, I immediately in my head went, oh my gosh, 11-11-13. Havasu is 11-11-13. Now I've talked to you about 11 is the Master Mason number. 11-11-11 that's their utopia. Okay, this is the Jews' gate, the utopia. All right, and the Jews and the Masons are exactly the same. They're Luciferians. The Masonic order was birthed out of the Jewish Kabbalah, the Jewish religion. Okay, they don't worship the God, the I Am, the Great I Am. We're not going there. They're Babylonian Talmud and the Kabbalah, which, by the way, their Kabbalah is 66 books. Okay, They've managed to do that to the biblical text as well. So now listen, Scott tells me it's in Havasu, Arizona. Well, I happen to know that the Hoover Dam, it's built over a pyramid, okay? Right underneath that is what you call a pyramid. It's been there for who knows how many thousands of years, okay? And this was all built. Then you have a total dark hole going down into the ground. Nobody knows why it was built there. Nobody knows what it's for. Well, I can tell you it's a portal, okay? This is where this is the birthing of the false Messiah, okay? This is what it represents. Scott started telling me about the pyramids over in Arizona. Well, it just so happened Agua Fria, which was one of the rivers, the fresh water, the new water, the fresh water, Agua Fria. Then he starts telling me what's all connected to that. I had said, Scott, it's been 3 months maybe since I said I believe they're going to blow the Hoover Dam. I actually believe it, looking at the gematria, the occult numbers, everything. That's what I believe. And when we started talking about the pyramids and the placement of this stuff, I started to get and then I started looking at the numbers. Scott and I both came up with, what I saw at that moment was frightening. For the people who live will be in the pathway of this. Now, Phoenix is due to be destroyed. If you live there, I'm sorry to tell you that, but it's the truth. Phoenix was named the Phoenix to be destroyed. That is the first thing you need to understand. They planned on destroying that from the beginning, okay? The Phoenix bird is burnt up, he dies, and out of the ashes comes the rebirth. Do you understand? That's what they are doing, the birthing of the false Messiah. This dam goes, and that dam goes. Phoenix is in the way of being taken out. Now you have the river Colorado, okay? Colorado, if you're Hispanic, you do understand Chile Colorado, right? What are we saying when we say Chile Colorado? We're saying red chili. We're saying that's the red chili. Go look at the color of it and tell me it doesn't look like the color of blood, okay? And there's the Colorado River, right? There you go. So I put all these things together. I started looking at the trajectory of this whole business and where it was going to go. And Scott helped me with that because I didn't know every single thing in its path, but he did. The fact that the governor had the pyramid, there's an upside-down pyramid and a right-side-up pyramid there, okay? Everything is telling me that what I believed about the Hoover Dam is actually what I'm even more convinced than I was, all right? And Scott, this whole mess going on, what bothers me the most, Scott, is that people, like normal people, unlike myself, don't understand that stuff, and they're living their life, doing whatever, and I can't have a normal life because every time I see something on the news or in the paper or anything, I can't look at it the way everybody else does and just go, oh, well, and go on. I can't. I'm dogged by what I see. So when this all came up today, I'm sure, Scott, that you were as well. You were going, oh, my goodness, because when we started talking about this, everything started coming together. And we started seeing all kinds of stuff that because I didn't know about the London Bridge and that whole mess. Now, also, I want to tell you, I'm looking at the Daily Mail. The Daily Mail is one of my top places to go to get information, and all it is pictures of stars if they catch them walking on a sidewalk or in an airport or whatever, the new fashion, or they're standing out there getting their picture taken. That's all it is, right? That's what it is. But you have to understand, when the crazy guys would the Men in Black grab the cowboys to see where they go, let's get the paper and see what's going on. And they're like, that's the National Enquirer. He goes, yeah, well, this stuff is the truth. Okay? That's what I do. I go to this junky Daily Mail movie star, look what the stars are doing. Well, when you see a picture of a movie star, you just see him walking through the airport. You're not paying attention to the 3 fingers that she's got on her sunglasses that she didn't do anything with them. She's just touching her sunglasses. How many are touching? 3. The other 2 are limp. Well, then the next picture of another star doing something, I look at her and she's got 3 fingers pushing her hair back. Then the next one I look at, she's got 3 fingers sticking out of her pocket. Then the next one, I mean, this is how crazy it is. And this is what's been going on. Around January, there were all these pictures with the 5 fingers, the whole hand. All these pictures were coming out. Then it turned into 4 fingers. Then it turned into 3. Then it turned into 2. And now, everything I'm looking at, these people are signaling the 2 fingers. So I'm just telling you, since January, it's gone from 5 fingers now to 2. I believe this was a countdown to something big. That's what they're doing. They're counting it down. Every picture, the 2 fingers, the 2 thumbs, the 2 on the sunglasses, the 2 around the cup of coffee. I know that all sounds really like you're going, oh, come on, Julie, you're reaching. But I'm telling you, I walked in that world. This is how it's done. Every finger in a certain place, every single, the color of boots they're wearing out that day. You don't understand. This is not an accident. Everything is done on purpose. Down to the olive-colored boot, finger and thumb hanging in the pocket, all the fingers in, and one foot hanging down, and the foot is coming forward like walking, and the finger is pointing down to the boot. So I see that, and I go look up olive green, and I start doing the gematria on that. And what do I find? I find all the same numbers that I'm calculating right back up to the top, and it's the 2 fingers. So, or the 1 finger pointing down, and then with the meaning of olive, and then the boot. This is all part of what they do. And I know it sounds like it's tedious, and it is. These people you have no idea how complicated their lives are, because everything has to be planned. But this is what I'm seeing. So, Scott, I'm seeing a countdown of some sort, and then we came up with the London Bridge thing, and you just so happened to talk about that. So I was actually just like, wow. And I want you guys to remember, I've talked about the Oz, the cult of Oz, K-O-Z. It's the cult of 777. Do you understand? 777. Rihanna did the album, 7 cities, 7 countries, 7 concerts. That's what she did, 777. Go look it up, the cult of 777, the cult of Oz. Yesterday, I want to ask you, what was yesterday? Yesterday was what? 777. Do you understand? 777. 7th month, 7th day, 16th year, 6 plus 1 is 7. Do you understand? That's how it works. Right? And I knew that they would eventually, something would happen yesterday. And who covered this and who started putting it all out? CNN, which is the cult of 33. Take the logo, put it up on its end, and the end's at the top and the C at the bottom, turn it up on its side and look, and you will see 33. Okay? That's who they are. Scott, the picture you sent me of the monks that were dead, my expertise happens to be the occult forensics. That's what I do. I'm an occult forensic expert. I looked at the photographs very carefully, and everything was done in ritual style. Everything. The way their heads were placed on the floor, their bodies laid out, face down, every single thing was done in occult ritual style. That killing was not, they were not looking for gold, as the article says. That was a ritual. It was done as a satanic ritual, and I will tell you something else that I got from that. I actually did the numbers on that particular incident, and it led me straight to Barack Hussein Obama. Ask me how that happened. Do you understand? I told you guys, I can take Barack Hussein Obama and I can go straight back to Akhenaten in the numbers, and I can attach him to that very person in numerology to right now, and I can show you how to do it. Or I can explain it and do it on the air. You need to understand, Lucifer has planned these things hundreds and thousands of years in advance. Everything you see, my friends, is orchestrated just for you. Don't you feel special? Everything has been orchestrated down to the Dallas Police Department shooting. Is it any coincidence that the word police is 33 in numerology, Pythagorean? Is it any? Let me see. Orange. The color orange. What color is black and orange? That would be Samhain. Halloween. Black and orange. Let's see. What is the numbers for the Order Out of Chaos? A 33rd degree Mason. I think it's black and orange. Well, yes, it is. There it is. Just understand, everything you see is not a coincidence. They flash something across the screen. Ramsey Middle School. And the colors are what? Orange. Okay? Orange is 33. Ramsey is a name that goes all the way back to the Pharaoh Ramses. Yes, they trace their bloodlines back that far. And I do remember telling you, all of you, I traced George Bush all the way back to family Ramses. Traced him all the way back to the Ramses. And it wasn't just me. There's many people that have done that. Okay? He goes back all the way to Samaria and Ramses. Okay? They know their bloodlines, folks. They know every single jot and tittle of their bloodline. Nobody had sex with anybody, and if they did and a baby was born out of it, guess what happened? Camilla Parker Bowles, perfect example. She is not a shapeshifter. Reptilian, yes, but she's not a shapeshifter. Charles, who had a thing for her and now is married to her, he, on the other hand, is a shapeshifter. Okay? Before he married Diana, Camilla Parker Bowles got pregnant. Nobody knows about this. See, this is way before he married Diana. That child was the price they had to pay. They took that child when it was born, and it was sacrificed on the altar. Do you understand? This is how it works. There will not be a birth in these families unless it's planned and it's okayed by the percentage of reptilian versus DNA of human. They take tissue they take human tissue, they build it in a lab, and they add in all the other factors they need for that body to be hosted, to be able to use, to have a reptilian in there that can cloak with that human body. Do you understand? That's how it works. So that baby was sacrificed on the altar. That's how it works, and that's the price of working for Lucifer. And these are hybrids that are actually fallen angelic children. Do you understand? So, you know, Scott, this whole thing with the Lake Havasu, I thank you for telling me that today about the bridge, because I had no idea. I plan to do further research into this. It's very hard to get information on that whole scene of what happened. It's very difficult. So don't be surprised if that information dries up completely, because they listen to these shows and they know what I'm doing. Hence the helicopter over my house sitting there staring at me. So, but thank you, Scott, and maybe you might want to comment on the governor and his involvement in the Masons. Please do that.
Well, again, when we look at the Masonic Lodge, when we look at those who come into it, the lower guys, the ones who are just looking for camaraderie or looking to belong to something, have really no idea what they're getting into. But when they come in, it's all about taking oaths. It's all about swearing in. And what they're actually doing is they're cursing the family. They're cursing their lives. They're cursing anything when they try and come out of it. If they try and leave it, if they try and reveal any of those things of the occult, because that's what it is, that then the curses of those things that they've spoken will come upon the family. So I've been spending years and years and years working with people, bringing them out of Freemasonry, having them renounce that, breaking these curses off of them. This brings mental illness, fears, premature death, death of asphyxiation, you name it, it's there. So when you enter into such a thing, what you're actually doing is you're making a pact with the devil. Now, in order to get up through the ranks, you show your devotion, you show that you're willing to do more that has to do with being of the occult. And so as you go through these levels, you know, from first, second, third to 32nd, 33rd degree, then you literally are leading into serving Satan. Baphomet is your god, and in that, then what you've done is you've made a pact worldwide. So every governor, anyone is a politician, can go to any country, and the fact of their status as a Mason and their degree, they are accepted as a brethren. Now, during World War II, this was significant because in the foxholes, that when if you had an American soldier or a French soldier fighting a German soldier, and whether they had a ring on or an emblem or anything of Masonic, they would both exit the foxhole and not fight each other. And those cases were documented. Now, getting back to where Hunt is buried, that is, if you read my book, Second Heaven Invasion, I talked about going to the Phoenix Gardens, the Botanical Gardens. That's also where that is, at the Phoenix Zoo, the Papago Park, all of that area. And if you remember, as we walked into the Indian ruins that was preserved, set off aside for to be viewed, as we stepped onto it, a spirit came into her. I could feel it run right by, almost knocked me over, knocked her down. She went down like a sack of potatoes and became immediately suicidal. And luckily, praise God, that I was able to get her into the Deliverance because I was new at the time, just getting into it. And so she was completely delivered of this. And what was interesting is she had Indian in her. Okay? And she was also horribly sexually abused as a young girl, as a child, all the way through teenage years, by the so-called state-appointed keepers, right? So the point of it is that this whole area where it's at is a spiritual stronghold, is portholes. It is definitely a very active area. Now, Papago Park has also been taken over by homosexuals. That's been a big problem there for years and years. There have even been those in the church that were supposedly church leaders, those who were supposed to be over the ministry of kids, were caught there doing those things that they do in the bathrooms. So the whole thing is just completely just off the charts. Now, it was also a holding facility for German soldiers during World War II. And not too far from there is an underground facility at the 52nd Street Armory, as they call it, which is part of the Disaster Communications and State Control or Command Center. So in relation to it, the fact that the first governor, because you need to remember that the state of Arizona was a territory with New Mexico, referred to as the Arizona Territory, and then split up and then became New Mexico and Arizona. At that point, that's when Hunt became president or became a governor. Now, in his rule or in his authority or in his action of governor, you need to remember that he is dedicated to the dark side. So those things that were through the state were set up according to the Masonic rule, the Masonic Lodge, just like Washington, D.C. Okay, it was everywhere. Now, I wanted to mention, I mentioned Picacho Peak earlier, where I had found those clothes that had to do with that temple homicide. And those clothes, you'll never see them again. That's all done and gone, just bringing it up. Picacho Peak was considered one of the last Civil War battles during the American Civil War. The Union of California soldiers, the cavalry, conflicted with the Confederates that came out of Texas. That was around, in the 1870s. And so I'm sure there's more to that. I'm sure that whole thing has been skewed because when you look at the history of that whole area, there's a Masonic hold on all of it. Okay? Now, Arizona in itself, being the Phoenix, being named as it was, again, as Julie pointed out, was no mistake. And Arizona State University being in bed with the Vatican, in cahoots or joining forces, at the Lucifer telescope on Mount Graham. Now, you need to remember in my book, Second Heaven Invasion, when I went up there for a rescue mission as a tracker up on Mount Graham, that I ventured into a canyon while the telescope was being built. In fact, there was a lot of controversy over it. And I remember that because the particular county there at the time had to stage officers around to protect the construction because there were people who came all over the country to tear it down. The spotted owl supposedly was endangered, but in reality, I think what was going on is they were keeping that quiet because it was another vortex, it's another portal, it's another stargate, another spiritual area. And when I ventured into a canyon to do the cross signing, we called that, where I would go back and forth and look for any clues of a person coming through that area, I became violently ill. I became overtaken. I literally had to stop and get my wits about me. And I was not a Christian. This was quite a few years ago. In fact, it was before the Temple homicides. And once I got my composure, we were always a track man of three. And I was the lead. I didn't get more than, 100 feet, and it hit me again. And I finally had to bail. I couldn't do it. I didn't know what was wrong. I was getting emotionally, spiritually, physically beat up. I thought I was going to lose my mind. I got out of this canyon, and once I made the decision that I wasn't going to go any further, it all lifted off of me. Okay, so Arizona in itself is a very hot spot for the demonic and the strongholds and those things of that. So when it comes to Phoenix, we need to understand that there is no mistake the way they've laid everything out. The people that were the land developers, the ones that came in and homesteaded, the ones that did these things, the Mormons were very strong in that area, by the way. We talked about fire in the sky. We talked about the White Mountains where the guy was abducted and then released later. It's no mistake. This particular and of course the White Mountains is where I had the incident or the issue with what I believe was Sasquatch, what they called the Bungeon monster. And there was a porthole there that I had closed, and when I went back to do some more praying, I got beat up pretty bad too and had to leave. Now, what does this all mean? Well, again, as Julie's pointing out, with all the numbers and all the figures, that nothing is by accident, that everything's been staged, and Hunt was one of the main designers, engineers of this whole thing. Now, the Salt River in itself that flows in front of his memorial is no mistake. It overlooks Tempe, Arizona. Now, I would never live in Tempe again. I like Tempe. I like Mill Avenue. I grew up there. It's like coming back home. But the whole area is so corrupt. The law enforcement's corrupt. The city of Mesa, next to them, is where the Mormon temple is at, because remember, that was all homesteaded as for Mormons. Again, the same thing with the White Mountains. And Mormonism is based out of Freemasonry, period. Okay? And the Tempe in itself was reminded by an individual that then named Phoenix, founded Phoenix, referred to the mountain of Tempe being very much like that of those things that had to do with Rome. And so again, that's no mistake. And it just goes on and on and on. And who would ever think, but bringing this all together, how can you deny it? So I hope that answers that, Julie. Go ahead.
Yeah, it does, and I'm really glad that because these what a lot of people don't understand is that all of this stuff has been planned very, very long time. This is not just an accident, and I'm going to tell you on that particular murder, all of that was a ritual, okay? And I'm going to give you the meaning of what happened, and I want you guys to pay close attention. ID a man named Obama, Inky, DNA of Obama. Now, Inky and there's two of them, Enlil and Inky. Inky was said to be Satan or Lucifer, and Enlil was said to be the Yahweh, the God, the true God. And Inky was the being that used to come through another dimension and speak to Aleister Crowley. Okay? So what the numbers I ran mean, Inky DNA of Obama. How many times have I told you guys that Lucifer is running Obama? How many times have I told you that he is a fallen angel in a human body. How many times? Okay? Dark Lord. What did I tell you? Deal from hell. Hell, a real place. Barack is Mahdi. So Barack Obama is said to be the Mahdi. Which, who is the Mahdi? Satan, Lucifer, is the Mahdi. Do you understand? That's what he is. Okay? There's also Obama, the big lie, alien and demon, the black deal breaker, the chimera. What is Obama? Obama and a bad golem, which means a very bad man that's not Jewish, okay? Alien DNA and Obama. The mark of balance, 999, and I'll explain what that means another time. Isis and Lamb. Remember, LAM, that was the being that Aleister Crowley used to channel. That was the being that he channeled, okay? Idumea, which was also a god from back in the Sumerian days, okay? And said to be one of, it's one of the things that they worshipped, right? And Molech and A.B. Obama, Molech, okay? And a Pleiadian is. These are the results. Do you understand what I'm saying? Barack Obama is Lucifer. Do you understand? That man is possessed, or that body is actually the fallen angel in a human body, and I'm telling you, Satan is inhabiting that body. I've told this before. I know people don't want to believe me, but the truth is the truth. And everything I got just from that ritual, just numbers from what happened 30 years ago, how many times did he show up in those numbers? Not only that, but Obama, alien DNA, Obama, inky DNA. What? Inky is Lucifer. Hello? Do you understand one thing? Now, I know, Scott, when I told you that stuff, you were going, oh, my goodness, because it is really, and by the way, on the Dallas PD thing, you need to understand something. Dallas police officers are trained and have been trained in California. My husband was part of that program in helping these guys learn how to be good cops because the civil rights violations in this state were just horrible, and in the South, period. So Dallas started sending their police officers to California to train with our guys. Because our guys, California police officers, deputy sheriffs, are the most well-trained officers in the United States. No one has to go to an academy as long as they do. They are in an academy for a solid year, studying everything they need to know. As a deputy sheriff, he had to do homicide, coroners, every branch of the government, of the sheriff's department, civil, everything, okay? So they're very well versed. Now, they train these guys. This is the training that these Dallas PD officers get, all right? So for what I saw from the footage, I'm going to tell you it was absolutely ridiculous. Do you understand? Okay, there's a group of people hanging out to the right of the screen in the footage. A shooter, a police officer is behind a pillar. A shooter is on the other pillar coming toward him, and he just stands there with his back to the shooter and allows the shooter to come up behind him and shoot him. Okay, I want to tell you something. First of all, that gun had no live rounds in it, all right? And on the right-hand side, there are three guys hanging out, no doubt with their cameras because they were filming, I'm sure. They're hanging out there, and isn't it funny that one of the guys hanging out with the shorts goes over like he's going to talk to the guy, and they're all hanging out, and nobody's running for their lives. All this shooting is happening 20 feet from these guys, and nobody's running. They're all just standing there hanging out talking. Dude, if there was gunfire going and I just watched a cop 20 feet in front of me get shot to death, I'm pretty sure I would run. They all just stood there and then one of them went over to the shooter and just went like they were hanging out, like he just walked right over there, okay? Secondly, I told you guys that this was going to be rapid-fire shooting hoaxes across this country, all right? The snipers supposedly injure, 6 police officers, and 4 are killed, okay? You're close to 44. B of A, if you look at one of the scenes, that carefully crafted shot, there are officers lined up in front of a sign that is B of A. What is B of A's logo? Does anybody know? B of A's logo is 11, 11, 11. There's not an accident oh, and by the way, officer, you in the middle, what was that, the goat head you were throwing up? Were you throwing up the goat head? Is that what I saw, sir? Traitor. You're nothing but a traitor. I know that's what you threw up. By the way, the B of A logo is 11, 11, 11, and that is 33, the cult of 33. At the right-hand bottom of the screen, you're going to see letters, a T and an O, and an M and an O. What that means is 2 6s, and the M and the O mean 3 6s. Do you understand? 666, right there. Cult of 666. All right? That's what's going on here. Do you understand? These officers supposedly, 11 was shot. Now they're up to 11, okay? 11 is a Master Mason number. I've talked to you about that before, 11, okay? Now, I want to move on to the Baton Rouge thing. This is problem, reaction, solution. We create the problem, you, the public, react, and the solution is to take just a little more of your rights away, and you gladly trade it in because you think the world's going crazy, okay? Baton Rouge. I saw the footage. I looked at it from every which way possible. I would like to say to the police officers, may you, if you do not repent for what you have done, may you go to hell. I saw what you did. You are the lion. How dare you disgrace the badge of a police officer in that manner? I saw what you did. I watched the whole thing, frame by frame. You people are liars. You have lied to the American public. I watched you. And by the way, sir, if you guys are going to do these shooting hoaxes, you need to use something besides a starter pistol. Folks, I have a starter pistol. I train dogs, and I've been training dogs for law enforcement. I've been training dogs for hunting, guide dogs for the blind, handicapped dogs. I've been doing this for many years. I have a starter pistol. Okay, I use it when I'm training dogs to hunt birds, upland game, and waterfowl. Now, I also have every gun the police officers use. If they have a gun and access to it, I've got it. Do you understand that? And most officers carry either a 40 or a 9mm, of which I have many. And I know exactly what a starter pistol sounds like and a real gun. I will tell you that was a starter pistol. That is in no way, shape, or form a real gun. That was like, tap, 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 tap. Give me a break. The camera guy was so close, you would have heard it echoing into the microphone. So the next time you want to pull a shooting hoax, why don't you use something besides a starter pistol? And by the way, on the third shot, officer, that I saw you fire, had you really fired that shot and it was a real shot, the officer that was on top of the guy, your gun was directly over that officer's back. You would have killed him. You would have shot him. So you guys might want to, you crisis actor police officers might want to try again, because that was stupid. And by the way, I saw you apply a blood pack to the boy's chest. So I also saw that. You guys are completely ridiculous. Okay? Now, this is what they do. There are 2 cops and 1 guy. All right? My husband, as a retired law enforcement deputy sheriff from California, 20-plus years in that industry, do you understand me? All he had to do was see the footage one time and know it was a hoax. Do you understand? Because, number one, there are 2 officers and the guy wasn't even struggling. You never pull out a weapon when you're on top of a person like that that's struggling. Never, never, never pull out a weapon like that. Scott, you know for a fact, if that guy's going ballistic and you pull out your weapon and you're just a few inches from that perp and he's going crazy, what could happen to your gun, my friend? You could fire when you didn't mean to. You're never supposed to pull your gun unless you're going to pull the trigger. Okay, you could fire when you didn't mean to, or the gun could get knocked out of your hand or taken from you. Scott, there is a rules of engagement, and I know you were trained by them. Military, trained by rules of engagement. That is absolutely not acceptable in the common SOP of a department and rules of engagement. 2 police officers, they easily had the guy down. He wasn't moving. And by the way, Alton Sterling, you're not a very good actor either. You need to try again, okay? That was definitely not an Academy Awards acting there, okay? Now we're going to move on to Minneapolis, Minnesota. Okay, right there, I'm going to tell you, Minneapolis, Minnesota is one of the most demonic occultic cities there is in the United States. MM is 33, okay? Cult of 33. The word police, again, is the cult of 33, okay? And at the exact time this is aired, the time was 6:09. 69, as above, so below, okay? That's what that's referencing, Baphomet, as above, so below, all right? The handler, if you watch this whole thing happen, you're going to see, as they are talking, that what did I tell you? They wanted, what they're asking you to do, what they want to do is they want to turn blacks against whites and Mexicans, all of that, okay? Divide and conquer. Now, Orlando just happened. Am I right? Orlando. Would you like to guess what the father of this victim's name was? Can you say Philando? Do you think it was an accident? No, sir. And by the way, I want you to know that the man Philando Castile is a Mason. And by the way, Mr. Philando, which is a fake name, I got a little load at your masonry. I got a little look-see. And by the way, you must be pretty high-ranking to be wearing what you were wearing. I wonder if you're in line for a promotion. Okay, and the numbers they flash on the screen at the time was 902. Do you know what that means? That means 9/11, 9/11. That's what 902 means, 9/11. Okay, isn't it just a coincidence that where this actually happened in Falcon Heights, coordinates of that are 44? Isn't that the 44th parallel? Again, with Obama, the cult of 44. Remember when we were back at the Orlando shooting? Remember what I showed you? They made sure that a 4x4 truck pulled up in front of the Dunkin' Donuts, which is DD 44, and this is all a reference to the 44th president, Barack Obama. Do you understand? The 4x4 truck may back up in front of the Dunkin' Donuts 44. Again, with the cult of 44, Barack Obama. Okay? That's your connection. All right? Now, this happened in Falcon Heights. Would you like to know what the motto is of Falcon Heights? Families, Fields, and Fair. FFF. Would you like to know what FFF equals in gematria? 6. There you have it, folks. The county is Ramsey County. The ram these Satanists love to mock. They love to worship the horned deities, the ram, and they love to mock, and they are mocking you, all of you. Do you understand? Okay, Mark Dayton, yeah, governor of Minnesota. Let me tell you something, brother man. Your holographs wasn't covering your reptilian scales. I saw you under your holograph. Okay, it fell apart as you were coming out to speak to the people. Okay, you need to understand, you guys, these are all reptilians. Okay, every single one of your leaders are reptilians. And his hologram was breaking down big time, and his reptilian scales were just popping out all over the place. Okay? Now let's go to the guy, let's say Mona Doman. She's the Minnesota DPS, right? Department of Public Service Supervisor. Mona, why do you have a pentagram pin on your jacket, ma'am? And at the right side of the screen, I saw there was a WCCO, presented by WCCO. Wouldn't that be 3, 3, 3, and 6? Wow, the cult of 33 and 3 6s. 33 and 3 6s. Wow, that's got Mason written all over it. And isn't it funny how the time was 319? Well, I know exactly what you were trying to say because you speak in reverse, because that's what you guys do. You speak in reverse. It was 9 13. I get what you're doing. 9 is the number of Satan, and 13 is one of their most holiest numbers and most revered days, the 13th, okay? Especially Friday the 13th. Got your name all over it there, Lucifer. Saw every bit of it. Okay, I watched the man in the back telepathically communicate to Mark Dayton and to Mona Doman. She was so nervous she couldn't even see straight. If it wouldn't have been for him, she'd probably spilled her guts all over the place. And then I saw something very interesting right there in the screen. It said live, CNN. Okay, live 33. And you had right there, just so happens that the stock market said 2274. That was not an accident, people. That's 11, 11, 11. That's exactly what that means in the occult is 11, 11, 11. I wonder if that's 33. Okay, you're going to hear this woman, the news anchor, and shame on you, woman. She says, "Open season." It feels like, okay, we're gonna appeal to your emotions, people. We're gonna appeal to your emotions. It feels like open season on African Americans. First of all, no offense if you are a black person, you are not from Africa. Okay, you're not from Africa. I am Hispanic and Native American. I'm from here. My people are from here. We're First Nation people. Okay, you're not from Africa. Do you understand that? The DNA test on people in this country versus over there, you guys have nothing in common. So you would, even the people in Africa, I have friends that are African, Nigerian, and they're like, they are not African. I don't know why they call themselves that. Okay? They're trying to, do you understand they're trying to play you against everybody else? Do you get that? Let me tell you what the mom and dad of this supposed shooting, this guy that was shot, let me tell you what he said. You hear the mom say, "We're being hunted every day. It's a silent war against African Americans." Do you guys hear the race baiting? Do you hear what she's doing? And you, ma'am, you are a black mark on black people. And you, sir, are a black mark on black people. The black people have a very, very proud heritage and a very proud history. How dare you bring your people to a black mark on their name? How dare you do that to them? And by the way, sir, I saw your Masonic pin, right, gold and purple. Wow, you must be a master Mason, because I saw the gold and purple and I just went, oh, I am so impressed. So that was on the man's shirt, on the man's collar, by the way. That was the square and compass, okay? The woman is baiting, right? Because you want to say, oh, well, we're black people and this and that. And let me explain to you people, these people are not black. Do you understand that? That man and that woman are not black. They're actually green. Do you understand what I'm saying? They're green because they're reptilians. They are reptilians operating through a body, and they are using that body to get all of you black people mad at whoever. I don't know, whoever, you know. They do the same thing with my people. Do you understand? I'm Latina and Native American, and they try to get my people, the Mexicans. We're supposed to hate whoever, white people, whatever. Do you understand? They're doing it to us too. And unfortunately, some of my people are stupid enough to fall for that whole race thing, all right? And it doesn't take much to get people off and running with this whole thing. And by the way, the G on the pin that he was wearing equals 33, okay? The woman was wearing red and black. Red and black. Okay, there you go. That's the Masonic colors of red and black. All right? So if if you go and look, you watch what they're doing. They popped up on the screen. The middle school, Ramsey Middle School, they popped that up on the screen. The colors were, of course, orange. Orange. 33. Orange equals 33. By the way, if you go look on television, you'll see a guy that was propped up in this world to be host his own show called Hell's Kitchen, and his name is Gordon Ramsay. Okay? And by the way, if you look at Gordon Ramsay, you're going to see him putting his finger over his mouth going, shh, don't tell the secret, right? If you look at Charles Darwin, there's pictures of Charles Darwin with his finger over his mouth. Ozzy Osbourne, Barack Obama, Barbara Bush, John Kerry, Hillary Clinton, Obama's press secretary, all the stars. They got their Angela Merkel. Trump is doing it, okay? They got their finger over their mouth. By the way, this is also related to the pyramid, okay? Always with the pyramid. You've got, go look and watch them make the pyramid. Angela Merkel, Michelle Obama, Trump, Joyce Myers, Gary Spearman, Benny Hinn, all the popes, John Hagee, John Paul Jackson, Doc Marquis, Bill Schnoebelen. Go look. They're all doing the pyramid. Every last single one of them, and even more, are doing the pyramid. Okay, that's the pyramid and the capstone, the all-seeing eye, right? And you're going to watch these people as they cover their right eye. Why are they covering their right eye? Zechariah 11:17 in the Bible. That is a reference to the right eye of the Antichrist, okay? Blinded in the right eye. Get it? They're telling you they worship the Antichrist. So you have also the San Bernardino shooting. I want you guys to go back and remember that one. The first guy they interviewed, the guy that was involved in that, he had on a Masonic hat. This is how they love to mock, okay? Everybody on television is part of the Matrix. And I know, Scott, that you have been listening to me do this for a while, and I noticed that you said that you're starting to actually look at the fingers in placement in pictures because you're starting to catch on to this stuff, right?
Yeah, in fact, that's why when I'm driving around town, I'll take a picture of a decal or some emblem on a car, and I'll send it to Julie right away. And it's like every third car. I mean, this whole community is completely taken over, and they're very proud. Everything they have on their vehicle indicates what they are. And again, the police chief here comes from the city of Mesa, which again I reminded everyone earlier that was of the Masons, of the Mormon area where the Mormon temple's at, and it's all connected. So every time that I see something now I'm taking a different look at it, and I'm starting to get it. And it's in plain sight. I mean, that's what the occult basically means. And so, you know, if you listen to everything that Julie's talked about tonight and everything that's pieced together, how you have to at least say, okay, there's something up here. Something's not right. Just like the local shooting here of the pastor. Things didn't add up. There's all kinds of things happening here, by the way, that are, again, have my concerns. But at the same time, I know that God's in control. And so whatever's going on, I'm not too concerned about it, though I have been dealing with which I believe is definitely psychotronics. But it doesn't matter. I'm okay. I'm going to keep going. And in fact, there's some changes hopefully here that'll happen real soon. And Julie and I can work closer on these things. And again, just remember, everyone, that even though this may look like it's off in the distance, that's one of the things that the mainstream church has programmed you to do, to think that it's tomorrow, that it's next week, a month out, a year out, 10 years out. And it isn't. It's here now. See, it's right on top of us. You've been brainwashed. You're in the matrix. You've been, everything around you, you're so used to it. And by the way, the Goathead Wall of Shame, Dan Quayle, the vice president, when Bush Sr. was in office, he's doing one of the best Goatheads I've ever seen. And where's he from? Just outside of Phoenix. Now that's interesting. Julie?
Yeah, I'm right outside of Phoenix, wouldn't you know. This whole, and I also wanted to highlight another. I had my husband look into this. There was a shooting of a black man in a car, and the officer shot him 4 times, and the girl was in the car, the girlfriend, filming, not a tear, nothing, going, oh, please don't tell me you didn't kill my boyfriend. Please don't tell me you didn't kill my boyfriend. Please don't tell. And here the officer is with a gun doing nothing. So this went on. They had to act out the whole scene, and he's laying there. And by the way, dude, hey, you're not supposed to breathe when you're supposed to be dead. Okay? And she said, you're dead, he's dead, and you breathing. All right? You're not supposed to breathe. And the blood you had on you from where you got shot, okay, I'm sorry, but that was a blood pack, and it was poorly placed, all right? These people, she's sitting there talking with not a tear. She's not upset. She's not screaming. She's not hysterical. Look, if you had your boyfriend or your sister, your brother, cousin, mother, whatever, shot right next to you in a car, you would be jumping out of the way. And by the way, would you sit there and film on your cell phone, film your dead boyfriend and the cop and everything, and film yourself? She was doing a lot of selfie. And not try to cut the bleeding off, aid your boyfriend with anything, CPR, whatever. Would you just keep filming and talking and saying racial comments like, I know you didn't just do that, and then start on the film say, this is evidence right here. It's a white cop, and they shot my boyfriend, and he has a concealed weapons permit, and he was going to get his license when the guy asked for it, and he said it was a gun, and the guy shot him because he said he thought he was going for a gun. See, the whole thing. And then the cop just sits there. Well, according to my husband, that would not be what happened. That cop is standing there with a gun pointed at the window. He would have ordered her out of the car. Another cop, which there were other ones there, would have yanked her out the other side, okay, and she would have been on the ground and handcuffed because there's a gun in the car. And they would have gone right then and there. They would have opened the door and checked the guy and checked the gun, okay? That's what would have happened. But that's not what happened. For like 5 minutes, she's in the car talking, and the cop is just standing there, not saying or doing anything with a gun pointing. And you can't see his face. He carefully they crafted it where you can see his face. But this is what was happening. And she's talking like no big deal. She's just talking. Oh, I know you didn't shoot my boyfriend. Oh, I know you didn't kill my boyfriend. Oh, I know. She just kept saying it over and over again. No emotion, no tears, no nothing. Okay? That's not the normal way people behave or react when their loved one has just been shot 4 times. Okay, let's move on. When she finally did get out of the car, she walks toward an officer down a sidewalk filming. They allowed her to walk down a sidewalk to an officer filming. Then, after she goes on the ground, the phone's laying there, then they handcuff her, put her in a unit, and they didn't handcuff her from behind, my friends. They handcuffed her in the front, which is absolutely not the way it's done, okay? Absolutely not. Then they gave her cell phone in the unit. She's in the back seat of the unit, handcuffed, and they let her have her cell phone so she could continue to record and talk about these white cops and how they were so bad. So when I presented this to my husband, he looked at me like, what, are you stupid? I said, no, it really happened. This is what happened. And I'm saying, here, you need to see this. He said, that's in his opinion, the whole thing's a hoax. He said, first of all, she would have been ordered out the other side of the car, period. She would have been jerked out the other side and handcuffed immediately, and her cell phone would have been turned off and stuck in an evidence bag. She'd have never seen that thing again, because to give her the cell phone and let her film walking down the sidewalk to a police officer and then give it back to her so she can get in the unit and start recording again. This is all opposite of police procedure. Do you understand? Nobody gets to keep their cell phone in a unit. And they don't handcuff people in the front, but they had to because it was part of the entire plan. Do you understand? It was part of the plan. Now, I went and looked at the numbers on these people, Falcon Heights, and I started looking for clues in gematria that have to do with where this happened and what was going on and all these things. And I'm telling you, Roseville, now let me explain to you about Roseville, okay? The rose is the flower of the Masons, okay? You will see in a lot of Masonic art, there'll be a rose, okay? And that represents the pineal gland, or the knowledge, the blossoming knowledge in the pineal gland. See, your pineal gland is where the demons take over, or Jesus Christ takes over, the Holy Spirit, one of the two. And that's why Buddhists have the lotus blossom, because they become aware and they ascend, and they have this new knowledge. They are, moving up into ascension with this knowledge. And this is representing the pine cone also as it opens. Okay, represents the pineal gland, the blossoming of knowledge. Okay, and this is what Lucifer does. He ends up in your pineal gland, the demons, and they open. Right, that's how they do it. So this was also something that struck me very strange whenever I started looking into the name of the place, and I thought, well, isn't that really weird that these things keep happening in Masonic towns, in Masonic areas, where all this stuff is like a big deal. It's huge. It's huge. And they have, and this is how they speak, you guys. Roseville. Do you understand? They're telling you right there who is behind it. Rose, Masons. That's where it comes from. And I'm sure you guys have seen. And one of the things that the gematria says is demonic mind. That's what one of the things, and also it means Islamic Khalifa. And, they're trying to do, they have named a new caliphate over there. It's the Islamic Khalifa. And I'm sure that any one of you could find that very odd that in gematria they've chosen that place, that time, and the meaning of the word. Okay? So, Scott, when I look at this stuff and I start to see all the connections to these people, one of the Roseville gematria connections is evil billionaire, and we all know that there are many evil billionaires are actually in on all of this. The scorched earth policy is also one of the meanings, and one of the meanings also is the Large Hadron Collider disaster. Another one is Maitreya, the UN. The United Nations, Maitreya. And they're pushing Maitreya right now. If you look into it, you will see that that's what they're doing. Okay? One of the other meanings is Obama, Pelosi, socialist. Is that a coincidence that just so happens to mean that? Has this meaning? But Satan hindered us. Okay? What about aliens? What about the connection that it means the devil's Bible? Is that anything? Well, I would think so. Also, there are Jewish connections here to the tribe of Benjamin. The number of the letter M, okay, which is 33, 3, all right? So there are numerous voodoo aliens, numerous representations of what that number means. All right, numerous. It is amazing when you go look into this, the leader of the Greys. So it's whoever the leader of the Greys is, right? The connections, the U.S., CNN, spying, because we do know that the CNN, they spy. That's what they do. So, Scott, I think it's really also means the sixth seal. You make it of it what you want. The sixth seal is another meaning. And also, Allah is Satan. That's another one of the meanings. Allah is Satan. So, Scott, the pieces of the puzzle are starting to come together as to why they pick these places. And I do the numbers on them, and I come back with these meanings. And it is very, very apparent to me that Obama has been picked for this time for many, many years because his name is in every one of these details that come out with this stuff.
Yeah, and to think that this was all, tabulated within a very short period of time. unlimited resources, for what we have. And so as we dig into this deeper, more is going to come out. There's some things that I needed to get Julie, but didn't get a chance to, like the coordinates of where that particular pyramid is for Governor Hunt and some of the other things. And they all are related. It's not by accident. I wanted to mention, Julie, you were talking about the firearm issue. One of the main things that is taught to an officer is to always make sure that his weapon is secure. Secure the weapon, period. Gauge. Otherwise, if you pull your weapon, is your finger on the trigger or is it gauged on the outside? So if you're wrestling with somebody, it doesn't just go off. They are trained. They are taught to do things. So if they're not doing that, they're not an officer. And the handcuffs. When someone's handcuffed in the front, they're a weapon. They're a choking weapon. That's the last thing that any officer was going to do to anybody, because even a woman's capable of choking somebody. And some of these women out there aren't really women. That's a man, baby. Now, the other thing is the cell phones. That's ridiculous. The officers here in Coeur d'Alene, they're Department of Homeland Security trained. They'll yell and scream at you. Put that darn thing down. And the other thing about handcuffs, if you're cuffed behind you, try and run. It doesn't work so well. But if you're handcuffed in the front, you could pretty much run almost as easily without it. So the whole thing is completely, the policies, the procedures, everything that is normally done that goes along with how the etiquette, the policy of the behavior of an officer is not shown here. And here's the other thing. If you make mistakes like that, and when you go to the locker room when you're getting ready to get off shift, don't think the other officers aren't going to come down your throat for how much you screwed up. Discharge your weapon by accident and see how all the other officers no longer your friend. So everything that you're seeing is as Julie is portrayed it. There's no question. Because once you're around that particular field, such as law enforcement, again, I like to refer to it as peace officers, peacekeepers, because when you talk of authority, then what you've done is you've given yourself over to them. You've said, you've got authority over me. We've done the straw man teachings. We did those things that have talked about how the United States was taken over, and that we as a separate entity that we're incorporated in underneath them. And by going along with what they say, otherwise, have you understood these rights as I say them to you, and you say yes, then what you have done is you have then merged your separate entity into the straw man, and now because they don't have a right over you otherwise because of common law, and now you are part of their jurisdiction. Same thing with driver's license, same thing with birth certificates. Julie, all this information. So what do you think is going to be happening next? We got about 10 minutes. What do you think is going to happen next? Any idea?
I'm not going to try to be a fortune teller, but I can tell you guys that what I'm seeing them setting up is an assassination attempt. And I do believe that Trump will be assassinated, but not really. It's just going to be a joke and a hoax. And then he'll disappear off the scene because he'll go underground and he'll go to his Taj Mahal he's got underground or something. And I do believe that this stuff is going to be staged right prior to the elections, and Obama will suspend the elections and stay in office. Okay? That's what I believe is going to happen. And I will tell you that I want you to understand that Lucifer himself is in control of that body that Obama is using, or that says he's Obama. Do you understand that? You have to understand he is operating through that body. I know that this is very hard for some people to believe, but I just know. Okay, I just know it. And I'll tell you something else. That Hoover Dam thing is, I know that some of you may not believe in prayer, or you don't pray, or you're not part of that group. But those of you who are, I am asking that you sincerely pray against that, because you know what? I know what they're going to do. I already see the numbers. I've looked at the dam itself, and there's 2 pillars, okay, and there's 2 angels. And then you have the 101. That's the 2 pillars, and then there's a circle, and then you have the god Dagon. Okay, so you need to understand what's happening. They said this is Masonry, which is what the Jewish Kabbalah is. It's Masonry, and they've got it set up. And the Jews' gate is called 101. That's the 2 pillars, and then you have the 0 or the circle. Okay, and that's the birthing canal for the false Messiah. They literally acted out as though the false Messiah is being birthed from a woman. And how is the baby birthed? Through water, okay? So that's why you see the 2 pillars and then you see the circle on the Hoover Dam. Do you understand? And the god that's in the circle is Dagon, i.e., a.k.a. otherwise known as Lucifer, Satan, Kiyun, Rinsan, okay? That's the whole point. So when I look at the numbers and I look at the statements, and you guys need to understand, when Hillary Clinton came back and she's from this Muammar Gaddafi that they killed him, she said, we went, we saw, he died. Or he came, we came, we went, whatever. But I worked it out. Do you understand what she was saying? What she said actually translated into the cult of 17. You need to understand that was all planned. Exactly what she said, the words she spoke, was actually planned. That's what she was supposed to say. Because it all comes into the cult of 17, that death, that what happened. So these people, when they speak words, I take note of their words. And I write down phrases and words they say. Remember how George Bush was supposed to be an idiot and he was always stumbling over his words? You guys, that was done on purpose. Do you understand? It was done on purpose because he spilled the truth and then backed it up and said, well, I meant it the opposite. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. So this is what I see coming is I went back and looked at George Bush Sr., and by the way, Scott, everything he said is tying into right now. Some of the statements that he made and the things he would say, the 1,000 points of light, the New World Order, and then he would make comments about it. If those comments are coming, the number, you can't run the numbers and not come back to the present day of what's happening right now. 9/11 was in some of the statements he made. It was coded in there that was going to happen, and that was when George Bush Sr. was in office. Okay, so when these people talk, I pay close attention to what they're saying. And I go back and I run the numbers. And, Scott, I really believe that I just believe that there's going to be a very huge thing like an assassination right prior to the elections. And I believe it will be Donald Trump. They'll be pretend executed, or it could be Barack Obama, but I doubt it. I'm right now, as far as what I've been able to decipher, it will be Donald Trump. And all of the conservatives and the Christians are going to go haywire and be all mad, and the patriots who are buying into that jackass on TV, because believe me, you guys, he is a jackass. He is not who he says he is. He's a reptilian in a human body. You guys need to really seriously check yourselves, because you guys are believing in men that are not human. These are not human beings. They're all running the whole earth. Reptilians run this world. You need to get that in your head. Okay? And I believe that Barack Obama will suspend the election. Now, I want you to remember, all of you go back and think, Scott, remember, how many times has the conversation of him staying in term for a third time, how many times has that come up during his presidency? Think about it. He was doing an address, and his sidekick came up there and goes, yeah, because we're going to go for a third term. And he goes, no, we're not. He goes, oh, we're not going to go for a third term. And it was supposed to be a joke. Okay, the Parliament has now put it out that they want him to have a third term. This has been going on for now 4 years that it's been talked about, that he would stay in. It just keeps getting thrown out there in the media. Do you understand why they keep saying it? Because that's what they're going to do. They're telling you what they're going to do. So pay attention, people. Pay attention. Because you know what? don't get yourself hooked up into this mess. I'm trying to avoid when you lend your emotions and your fear and all your emotions to this, you're feeding into the energy for these beings. So you need to separate. Be ye separate from the world. Separate yourself. Be angry at the bad side. If you focus your anger on these spirits, these entities, these beings that are actually doing it, they hate that. That actually spoils their power. Be angry at them. And if you are, I don't care, black, white, red, yellow, I don't care what you are, you need right now to understand something. This is not about race. They want it to be that way. They want you to fight, and they want us all to hate each other. Don't fall for it. Do not fall for it. Okay? So, Scott, that's what I believe is going to happen. I actually believe there's going to be a third term for Obama.
Well, I think with the Department of Homeland Security, the boots on the ground from other countries, United Nations, the small arms treaties, these false flags all over the place that are happening to make it appear that we have to confiscate guns and get them away from people. In order for some of this to happen, then would be some more chaos, and for them to bring in martial law. And so if Trump is taken out, or the lie of him being taken out, if it's not him, it may be someone else, or even Obama for that matter, and then coming back. The point of it is that we can't trust anything. We should suspect everything is possibly going to happen, and with that, then we can pray against it. I mean, that's really what it amounts to know what's going on. That's one of the reasons why God's people perish from lack of knowledge, because without it, they didn't know what to pray against. I wanted to mention, you were talking about Bush Sr., again, going back to Dan Quayle, his vice president. He was portrayed as an idiot, too. But in reality, he was a top debater in his class in college. And by the way, the town was Wickenburg. If that means anything to you, Julie, that's outside of Phoenix, heading towards Las Vegas. It's become a retirement center. It's actually a pretty nice place. But it also was a gathering place for some of the elite. There were ranches up there that belonged to some of the Hollywood stars from the 60s and 70s. And if you take that road back up through, it takes you up to Prescott, takes you up through William Colt's property. William Colt, the gun, all that belonged to them, Peoples Valley, and eventually into Sedona. And we know that Sedona, Arizona is an incredible, well, it's actually one of the occult centers of this world. And I've been there many times. I've seen many things that have taken place, unfortunately, in Sedona, and so it all feeds together. All right. Well, Julie, again, with what you just said, you can't deny it. And then your assessment of the potential that's going to happen is definitely a probability. And that's the way I look at it. Whether it comes in that particular form may not be, but if it does, then you heard it here. But the other is that we know something's going to happen, so we got to keep an eye out for it. I'm not looking forward to any of this, and it's one of the reasons we're so busy. I can't believe the amount of phone calls that came in today. And by the way, if you've been trying to get a hold of me, I'm going to try and get with you over the weekend. I've got a hard case I'm going to be dealing with tomorrow. I've got some people coming from out of town to see me, so I'm trying to catch up on my calls. But again, trying to remind everybody that things have gotten to another level, and it's not a good sign. And again, those who don't profess to be a believer in Jesus Christ, I just want you to understand that it doesn't matter who you are, the devil hates you. But I can guarantee you that if you have children, that he hates your children even more than you. And he wishes their destruction. And the demons, by the way, whenever I do an exorcism, whenever I do a deliverance, when I break the generational curse or the legal right of the demons to transfer to the children, that's when they throw the biggest fit. That's when they fight the hardest. They've been in the family a very long time. They don't want to go, and they want to transfer to the kids. So our behavior, our actions, the way that we live our lives, again, like in the Old Testament, the law was there to keep us out of sin. And as I mentioned last night's show, that demons were the punishment for our sin. And just like in the book of Corinthians, turn them over to Satan for a time in hopes that his soul will be saved. Otherwise, when you get beat up pretty bad, then when you're at the bottom of the barrel, the only way is up. And I think that's what the main plan was. And also, Julie, too, the French prisons, maybe not so much now, but there was a day that the prisons were so bad that anybody was ever released from them, less than 1% ever returned, ever committed another crime, because they were so bad, nobody ever wanted to go back, so they intentionally straightened themselves up. And so today that's not what we have. We have people who are allowed to do whatever they want without accountability, and because of that, then the spirits move in, alter and change the individual's mind, get them to think a certain way, and then become an instrument of the devil, another chess piece. And so our job, Julie and I, is to make sure that doesn't happen to you, because when the sickle comes in and there's a harvest, the chaff will be separated from the wheat, and we need to make sure what side we're on, and that's why we're doing the show that we're doing, is to give you that information, because look at the chaos. Look at the insanity. Do you think that man could orchestrate everything that Julie's talking about by themselves? It's not going to happen. There isn't enough cooperation amongst humans. There's too much argument. There's too much difference. There's always greed. Greed is in the middle of everything. The love of money. And so there has to be a demonic orchestration of exactly everything that Julie's talking about. And that's a worldwide net, a worldwide demonic familiarity that causes the whole world then to come into one agreement, and that is in the last days. Now, that's not the agreement of God. This is, as we see in the book of Revelation, being turned over to the beast system. And so there is going to be an acknowledgement of the Most High God in the end, period. Every head will bow, every knee shall bend. And so the choice is yours now. And so we just appeal to you to make that right choice, because without it brings death. Your soul will live forever. That's guaranteed. All right, Julie, out of time here. Going to finish it out. Thank you. That's a lot of good information. And so we'll see you on Monday, unless something comes up, and then we'll do an emergency show. All right, Julie? Good night.